A single mother just said that her son outperforms kids from two-parent households. And we got another one who calls raising boys without fathers protecting her peace. Now, most people will probably just scroll on past these clips, but these women are actually lying to themselves, and their sons are ultimately going to pay the price for this for decades. Let's get into it. I got a few clips that I want to share with you today. Let's check out this first one, y'all.
Children don't need men in homes just for the sake of saying that they have a two-parent household. So many children resent their mothers for bringing men into their child-free homes to avoid the stigma of being a single parent and raising children in a single-parent household. So many women or moms allow society to judge them, and they internalize that judgment of raising their children in homes by themselves, so much so that they are willing to put themselves and their children's lives and safety at risk, all just to say that there's a man in that home. Children don't need male presence. They need stability, they need safety, they need peace in their homes. Having a man-free home brings predictability, calmness, and emotional safety into the lives of those children in that home. So having a man-free home is peaceful and is a sanctuary for a lot of children.
All right, so let's address this because this is one of the things that really irks me. I hate when they will sandwich some pieces of nuggets that are on point with a bunch of hoopla, a bunch of crap, right? So a man-free home is not anything that any woman should be aspiring to develop, especially not with the best intent in mind for her children, in my personal opinion. See, there are some things that she's saying that's right. Like, you do want to prioritize the safety of the child. You want to make sure the child is in a household that is healthy, that's going to, put them in the best position to succeed. But that does not mean that having a home without a father is that environment. No. What we want is to keep children in households where there isn't no drama, there isn't any, thing that's going to risk their ability to be successful. But advocating for fatherless homes is not the answer. That's not the answer at all. Like, women need to be a better choice. Women need to make a better choice when it comes to the men that they have in their lives, especially if it's not the father of the children, right? I definitely agree that a woman shouldn't just have a revolving door of just random dudes all up in the crib, especially living there with her children. You don't know what those men are capable of or what they may do or the negative impacts that they could have on the children. But that does not mean that a woman is outside of her right to develop a relationship with a man without moving this dude in, without bringing these men around her children and having that negative impact on them. I think the focus needs to be on, as a mother, first and foremost, raising your children. If you do not have the father present or in the home, making sure that you are providing the best care that you can for your kids in order for them to succeed. And if there is a amicable relationship between you and the father of those children, or he has the right to see his kids, allowing that to happen, not necessarily under that roof, but giving that man the ability to be in the life of his children, if that's something that both parents actually want. That is vitally important. But having a bunch of random dudes around your children, that's not the answer either. But I don't agree with this woman in regards to thinking that, okay, the best way to do it is just like have a man-free home at all. I don't think that that's right. I don't think that that's the answer either, because there are some women who want to date. Not every woman wants to, go or be in a position where she's not in a relationship while she has her children and she's not in a relationship any longer with the father. So I don't think that a woman should forego dating necessarily, but I think she does need to be very mindful of the men that she allows around her children and the negative impact that could have. But having a firm stance of no man in the house or a man-free home, like, I think that's taking it to an extreme. So let's check out a second clip where it's going to get even deeper here. All right, so here's the second clip, y'all. Let's check this one out.
I'm hearing so much of this children need their father's bullshit. And then people who spew off and talk about statistics, how the majority of the people in jail are fatherless. Well, let me share with you the perspective of growing up with a sociopathic father, malignant narcissist as a father. Quite frankly, I was such a good kid and I would have been better off without him. How about we start paying
You.
attention to the fact that the mothers are so traumatized and unsupported, therefore unable to parent after picking a partner who is a criminal, abusive, deadbeat. Doesn't matter if they're actually convicted or not, a father who abandons your child is a criminal. You know what children need? They need healthy adults. And if they can have one healthy adult in their life, that's more than what most people have. The most aware parent has to become the leader. That means we need to empower the mothers who once made the wrong decision, but she has the power to change the generation line.
This is total crap. So I gotta call this out. First and foremost, I hate it when people try to take their personal experience and then extrapolate that on everybody else. Just because you feel like your father is a psychotic narcissist doesn't mean that that applies to every man. I think that that right there is just so reckless, man. People need to stop looking at their own situation in a dang vacuum and then trying to apply it on everybody else. Your experience does not mean that now we don't need no fathers in the household. And I just can't deny the fact that it is so interesting to me how women tend to act like that only men are the ones that are not good parents. Like, you do realize that there are some mothers who are horrible mothers. They're even worse than some men, right? Like, we can't sit here and act like fathers are the only ones that are bad, and not all fathers, because that's the way that they would have you to believe it, that all men who are fathers are just bad. And yes, there are some men that are not in the life of their children by their choice. And is that right? No. But does that mean that every man is a criminal deadbeat because he's not in the life of his child? I don't think so. Sometimes we don't understand or know the details of that situation. And to make blanket statements like this woman is making based on her own personal experience, but then absolving the women, the mothers of anything, like, come on, like, where's the focus on the child? That's the most important thing, is putting the child in a position where they can thrive, where they're safe. And they are the ones that are the primary focus. But it just amazes me, some of the craziness that gets spewed out here. And it's all geared towards tearing and breaking men down and taking a small minority of men that are that bad apple, that bad seed, and making it try to seem like they are the ones that are the prevailing issue in the world. And that's not true. That's not true. And I mean, like, goodness gracious, like, why now is like the go-to buzzword, like a narcissist? Like, you look back 5 years ago, people didn't even know what that was. People didn't even use that word. Now, anytime that somebody wants to label somebody as some bad person, oh, here they go driving into the bag or digging into the bag and pulling out the word narcissist. It's insane. I think that what this woman's saying is absolutely insane. Let me know your thoughts, but this not it. We got another woman that's about to jump all the way off of the cliff with what she has to say about men and fathers not being in a child's life. So let me pull this clip up. All right, we got one more clip. Here's the last clip, y'all. Let's check this out.
My kids don't need their father in their life. If the quality of your happiness as a single mother is tested on a constant basis, can you make the decision that the children do not really need him around? If the way that he treats you is detrimental to your mental and emotional health, do you have to make that decision? I was married to my children's father, and I had been with him since I was 12 years old. After making the decision to divorce my ex-husband, he was very emotionally and mentally abusive to me. I used to make the excuse all the time, like, my kids need their father, they need their father. But at what cost? I used to get so angry, and I used to go into these deep, dark spaces every time I had to deal with him. By the time my kids came home to be with me, I'm depleted emotionally. It's so far that I would talk badly about my kid's father in front of them. And then I had to make the hardest decision that I really did not want to make. After sitting and thinking to myself, this is not what I want for me. If I have to continuously allow myself to be damaged in such a way, how much good am I going to be for my kids? And as a single mom, of course, we're looking around to all the women that are around us, whether they're married or maybe they have children and maybe them and their children's father aren't together. But the co-parenting goes well for them. And I never saw myself being a single mom, literally with their father out of the picture. I never saw this coming. But when I tell you, I am the happiest I have ever been with him outside of the picture. Are my kids sad about this sometimes? Absolutely. I'm sure they think about it quite often. But am I my best self with them? Absolutely. Absolutely. They get a better quality of a mother from me because I'm not being abused. I'm happy. My spiritual relationship with God is amazing. There are a lot of mothers and a lot of single mothers out here that sacrifice the quality of their happiness when it comes to their children just to have the children's father around. I refuse to be one of them. Now, I don't know what the future may bring. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe someday we will come to a place where we can get along, where I can respect him and he can respect me. And we can co-parent like adults and be the best version of ourselves for our children. But until then, it ain't happening. My
Wow. Okay. There was a lot there, right? So the one thing that I will say that I'll give her credit for beyond the woman that we saw in the previous clip is at least she's keeping it to her situation, and she's not outright advocating that fathers aren't needed in the life of their children all with everybody. Like I can give her that. The one thing that I think we got to talk about is a person's mental health, in this case a mother, like is her mental health and more specifically her happiness, right? Like, do we prioritize that over the kids? Like, is it okay for the mother to be happy but the kids are sad? Because not only is the father no longer in the house, but like now the father isn't even in their life. Like, I don't understand. Like, I get the fact that she's saying that she was abused in this relationship, but it's one of those instances where it's like, okay, does the father not have or want any involvement with his children's life? Like, why can't there be a way for these children to still have interactions with their father? Are they still talking to their father? Like, they can't talk to him on the phone? Like, why? I mean, I don't know their situation, but to me, for there to be like a full stop, father completely out of their children's life, and it seems like it's a decision that she made unilaterally. I would say, like, especially if this father really wants to be in the life of his children, like, he should definitely do what he can from a legal perspective to make sure that he gets to see his children. Is that always going to be the best for the mother? No, but that comes along with the decision that we make as adults to say, hey, you want to marry this person, you had children with this person, and sometimes you cannot predict the future and how it's going to go. And sometimes it doesn't go well. It goes bad. But you also have to recognize that you are a parent and you have to take care of those kids, and completely removing their father from their life when you know that they're sad just so that you can be, like at your best, or you can be happy. Like in one instance, I can see it. I can understand why somebody will want to prioritize making sure that they're at their best so that they can show up for their children in the best way possible. But I feel like we can't ignore the fact that there's going to also be consequences to that decision. Even to her own admission, she says she doesn't know how that's going to turn out. And yeah, there are some things that we can't predict, but we can start to think about it. You can start having conversations with your kids, talk to them about like, how is this impacting you? Like, that is something that needs to happen. If the kids are like, okay, like we good or whatever, but clearly she said they're sad. So I think it's one of those instances where this right here, like when you look at all of these clips, I feel like people are trying to demonize a small group of men and trying to say that all men are bad fathers, and just full stop. A kid doesn't need a father in the home or a father in their life, and that is not the way. That's not the way it should be. No, like when you look back, children thrived even when they had their parents in the household and things were not the best. Does that mean that I'm advocating for children to be in an environment where, there is abuse and there is fighting and drama and turmoil all the time? No, because that is definitely going to have an impact on a child. But the goal isn't perfection. And I would even go out and say that the goal isn't even to always have a quote unquote happy household. Like that's not always going to be a reality. But the question is, are those individuals, in this case, the parents, are they treating one another with respect? Are they prioritizing their children, making sure that they are provided for, that they're safe, and that they're in an environment where they can thrive and doing their best to navigate and develop and work on making the relationship with that other parent or their spouse as best as possible? To me, I feel like going full stop and saying that fathers are not needed in the lives of their children, fathers are not needed in the homes, and advocating for a man-free home, I think that that's absolute foolishness, and it's something that takes us away from being able to live in a harmonious home and a harmonious society and put our children in the best position to thrive. So that's my take. Would love to hear y'all thoughts on these clips. Until next time, I'm Jay. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay blessed.